Hi everyone, Nathan Nerdock here, Nerdocky for Nerds by Nerds, and today I've got my esteemed colleagues here. We're going to be talking about, I'm going to be asking questions about what they think should be, interrogating if I have to, about what's going to be in Psionics 5th edition that I'm working on, or what they want to see in Psionics and Psionic warriors and things like that. So,
I'm Dave.
I'm Ryan, having my mind torn asunder.
And I'm Ted.
All right, so I'm starting off posing the question to you guys. Thematically, rules, whatever you want to get in on.
Well,
what do you think about
conveniently
Psionics?
enough, which I had gone on the record for saying this will not be in the DMG, and we will not see it from Watts. But
it is actually in the DMG.
It is in the DMG,
yeah.
And they give you how to do a spell point system, which would really go harken back to previous editions.
The PPs.
The PPs.
PSPs, thank you very much.
PSPs is way better than the PPs.
Psionic strength points.
They realized that Psionic points was not a good acronym to have.
Who knows?
Power points.
Now they're or PowerPoint. So
So like that's actually a fairly cool spot to jump off from.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it yet, but I'm interested.
So that basically what that states is that breaks all your spell slots and the points as opposed to spell slots, and then they put the stipulation that the more powerful powers or spells in this can only be used once a day. 6th level and above, you can only do once a day. So for the rest of your points, you can use them however you want, but they still kind of put that cap in.
So if you had a 9th level spell points worth, you could say, I'm not going to do a 9th level, and I'm going to do a whole bunch of thirds or something.
Yeah, you could do all first if you want it for days.
So I just wanted to start.
So that's a good place to start for the psychic well, as I'm calling it, for their power points.
Okay, yeah.
So I was going to actually touch on that. I know, when I personally started gaming, it was advanced 2nd edition, and I know that's when Psionics really hit it, and you were greatly invested in them.
Oh yeah, I read that book like 5-6 times.
And they when they switched over to 3rd edition, they greatly changed the scope of what Psionics was and how it was actually done. So I think you're leaning more towards having that open-ended, I'm going to choose a power and be able to work it. So it might be something that's like, well, I don't care whether this is a high-level power. I'm going to take it even if it means I can only do it once a day, versus the whole point of, well, if I take this one, I can do this 4 times, whereas that one I can only do it once.
Well, go ahead.
One of the nice things about the spell system for 5th edition is the mechanic of you just have one spell that you can bump to any level will actually port over really nicely to Psionics.
Although now it's to the point of making points of distinction in Psionics, because it's kind of like the problem the sorcerer has with, everyone's now as versatile as the sorcerer, so how do I make this thing look distinct?
Well, the way to make it more more versatile is to go back to kind of the 2nd edition makeup, where the concept of levels doesn't exist. You have powers. You have a well of points. Every power is scaled on how many points it costs to actually use. So if I remember correctly, going back to the 2nd edition Psionics, every power had a set cost of what it cost to use that power, correct?
For the most part, unless you wanted to do something like you want to contact somebody that's 60 feet away, well, that's going to cost you maybe 8 points. But if you want to do it over 1,000 miles or something,
another plane of existence,
or another plane of existence, then it becomes more expensive. So they had that in that regard. They had that kind of variability within the powers themselves, which I see in the just bumping it up spell level wise. And when you're looking at spell points, rather like a pool rather than slots per day, I can see that being able basically well, you want this to be stronger? Well, it's built in meta magic in a sense, where you're I'm just going to empower this, or I'm going to make this go a further distance.
So, the only limiting factor when you were getting access to new powers was, do I have enough psionic strength points to be able to use it enough to make it effective?
Yeah.
I don't remember what what the point that you would get per level, but like I know one of them was, hey, this costs 40 points to use it, once a day. So if you don't have 40 points, it's pointless to take that power.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so another thing, like I would look for it to look something like somewhere between the versatility of the sorcerer with like the meta magic feats, and something between the specialist schools because you had the disciplines. So something that felt like that. But I was also kind of thinking something along the lines of maybe with the individual disciplines, the way that the paladin has the lay on hands ability with like 5 times their level of points, and they can sack out 5 to like cure diseases or whatever. Like what if they have a pool that they can stack out 5 points to do something interesting and thematic with their disciplines.
Have you been reading my posts?
Well, here's the thing.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Yeah,
well.
none of us have read your posts. There's posts? No. But here's what I'm thinking, right? One of the things, I know you don't like 3rd edition Psionics. I liked what they did. I like the psionic focus. I think it's way cool. I love the psionic feats. But obviously, the problem is we don't have enough feats in 5th edition to make that effective. We don't get them often enough to do something with that.
Yeah, a lot of the things that thematically go with the classes, they just put as class features, which would have normally been.
So, but if you go with that separate kind of like pool of things that you could do while you're psionically focused, and you have points to spend on it, where they're like this menu of sub features you get to pick from. Now that might be kind of interesting and cool to do. Well, maybe some of them have level requirements, or or maybe you have to have so many points in your well in order just to use it, even though it's not using the points.
Yeah, I see. Kind of like you're at this capacity so that you can do this.
Yeah, you're psionically charged enough. Because I love the things like speed of thought and up the walls and psionic strike and the psionic boomerang power, feat, whatever that one was called. You just had these unique, cool things you could do. They were almost like wire food type moves a lot of times. Also like the crystal was like one of them. It was a feat that you could take to have a side crystal.
Which was essentially like a familiar.
Yeah, quasi familiar. It was a pet rock.
Pet rock
familiar. Yeah. Like he's really cute and he talks to me and he likes to go on the beach.
In previous editions, you had like the soul knife is considered psionic. You had the
Psychic warrior.
The psychic warrior. You had the scion. Wasn't there a 4th?
There's actually
the wilder.
The wilder, and then there was several others that did weird things.
But then under the core scion, you had similar to the specialist mage. Psychokineticist,
the disciplines.
The disciplines.
Which I did see. Nate's been talking about that stuff in his articles.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know whether all of those things, necessarily need to, have their own individual classes, or whether you feel like having the breakdowns of like, oh, well, let's make Scion and have the different choices off of that, like your 2nd or 3rd level choices when you the archetype. So do you know which direction you're going in regards to that?
Ryan brought up you both are bringing up good points about that specific thing. I want to split the disciplines. So there's the 5 disciplines, and then there's the meta psionics, which was its discipline unto itself. But realistically, it's said I'm general psionicist from 2nd edition. So there's going to be the class features is what I see as happening. Is there's the class features of the general psionicist. You can't actually select that, but everybody goes off of that.
Well, here's the thing, because the meta psionics, 5th edition did away with like the universalist caster. Like you just get a specialty, and there's no hindrance.
Everybody's everybody's a wizard.
You choose. Everybody's in college. You eventually choose a major.
General psionicist is the track that everybody is on, but I want the disciplines to augment that, and basically.
Okay. So you pick one of the 5.
You pick one of the 5,
and it's like you're gonna have 3 class features that are specific to that.
Okay.
So several class features.
So similar to the
and
wizard,
you'll have choices out of those.
So similar to the wizard choosing the school, the scion chooses a discipline.
Yes.
So now, do you plan on touching on the psychic warrior, or do you feel that can be incorporated to within the scion itself.
Dude, those could
No.
just be gishes, like the way that there's the Eldritch Knight and the Arcane Trickster.
It was going to be a reskinned Eldritch Knight, and the Arcane Trickster was going to be reskinned to
do the soul knife.
the soul knife.
Sure.
What with that though, I was thinking that I got to really do the
You know what?
general discipline stuff first.
I feel like the soul knife would be better off as another path for the monk. Yeah, they're very monk-like. If in the additions with their abilities and how they're laid out.
Well, at first I was looking at just the Arcane Trickster and altering them for simplicity's sake, but I can get. They're kind of.
I don't think that Arcane Trickster is nothing like a soul knife.
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about spell class features and spell power ability.
Yeah.
Looking at that and then saying, well, what am I going to change?
Cause
Just like the Eldritch Knight, I'm not just saying, oh, just give him psionic powers instead of spells. I'm saying, looking at that, what's the power level looking like? What's the abilities looking like?
You could take Soul Knife and have it be a tier option off of Monk, and Psychic Warrior could be off of Fighter instead of going Magic. Just
I'm
psionic.
considering that. I kind of like how in third they had it. It was basically another class. You started at first level, you had psychic powers.
Right.
So I kind of like that about it. So I don't know exactly how I would do that because your class feature for fighter is at third, right? At third, you get to choose whether or not you're going to be.
Here's the thing.
It's fitting with the design aesthetic, though.
That's what I trying generating an entirely new class with abilities that aren't just ripping spells off. It's kind of like I wanted to stick with as much similar stuff as possible, but I might get to them and say I want to do something else. So.
Right. Well, here's the thing to think about too is. You don't start until third level in 5th edition. So you're an apprentice up until 5th. I mean 4th. I mean not 5th, but
you
up
might
until
go
3rd.
and do stuff, but you really don't come into your power in a lot of the classes until 3rd. For abilities.
It could be that you just haven't gotten that far in your training yet to be fully psionic.
Mm-hmm.
You're not awakened.
You're working on it, but you're just not there yet.
You don't have the blue glowing eyes yet.
And one of the things I did with for backstory purposes, not actual literal game mechanic backstory, but Psionics, it's sometimes it's you overcoming some kind of damage or terrible situation that your powers have manifested, kind of like the superhero archetype background. And then there's the other one where you sit and train and get all.
In early D&D, 1E for sure. I don't know if they did it before they introduced Psionics in the 2nd edition. But like all your characters had a chance of being psionic.
Yeah, the wild talent thing.
Yeah. And and not only that, the system for combat was completely different. There was a subsystem of psionic combat.
Yeah.
And it was more based off of psionic defenses and attacks.
Yeah, I vaguely remember
powers.
that, like Bastion of Defense. Like they all different names, and there was like a mental combat.
They came back in later editions.
Yeah, second
but
edition
wasn't the same thing.
No, it wasn't the same thing.
10 attacks and defenses for mental combat in second edition.
So, have you done any backgrounds yet?
No, I haven't done any backgrounds. Kind of still, I've got some ideas, but not anything like really.
Because that like for those classes that are they're working their way towards.
Oh, I have done one, which is just kind of like Magic Initiate, which is like wild talent, where it's the feat you can take that you just gain some psychic potential. I know. I was saying feat.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking background, said feat stuff.
Okay.
I don't have any like strict background stuff. No.
So that might be another way to flavor a psionic character that isn't actually psionic yet.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, through the background and the features and what skill selections are.
Some sort of like mentalist or whatever would be the background name.
Yeah, something like that. Like I can see that happening.
So that's all I really have for now. They're my ideas.
Did we give you useful information?
Yeah, I think so, and I feel like you guys have also validated some of the ways I'm going with
some
things.
of your design aesthetics.
Yeah, so
and pooped on others.
Well, you also let me know that it's up to part 5 I'm working on right now, the telepath. But realistically, it's probably going to be a really long stretch of different articles, because I'm at 5 and I'm not even done.
But that's fine. I've always enjoyed the psionics in in D&D, and it's for me. It was from 3 on. I liked it better. I know you'd like the completely broken and unbalanced system before that.
Yeah, can I have a power that allows me to just be immune to damage for several rounds and then unload it onto the dragon with one touch and kill him instantly?
So
With your pinky.
there are some powers that aren't going to be in 5e for my psionic things, and some of them are the more like. Yes, it makes sense that they had the issue with second was it makes sense that they had this mental power, but the things you could do with it could be unbalanced. I mean, so like the ability to weaken something in 2 dimensions can have somebody break their sword, can have a strap on a horse thing break, so you fall off the horse and you get injured. There's like all these things that was like, well, that's a really low level power because it doesn't affect much, but it really does affect a lot in the game. So it's kind of I had to keep that in mind when I was thinking about powers.
Right.
And
Yeah, because it's hard as hell for like any given fighter to a 5th level fighter it would be really hard for them to sunder a sword, whereas like a 1st level dweeby scion.
it'd be like, boop.
Yeah,
And then the next
He's
time
like,
I can do this all day.
like, bam. The next time you swing your sword, it's gonna be breaking in half. I mean, you're gonna get saves because it's the will of one of the things is occupied objects. Is someone else's will being imposed upon the object. And they don't have to be psionic. Is if I'm holding a weapon and Ted wants to break it, well, I don't want him to break it. So there's like kind of like this
Imposed will.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
but
there's
most
imposed
things,
will upon the object,
most things that are being stowed, carried, worn, or whatever, they get the owner. Or
Yeah, but I feel
save.
like that's just a save for, so all your stuff doesn't burn to hell when you get hit with something.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I light your pants on fire.
Because you're a
'Cause I
liar,
can,
liar.
'cause-
Because you're a liar,
Because
liar.
Firebolt says I can light
Pants
things that
on
are,
fire.
So that kind of that mentality, kind of, you have to back things up when you make stuff out of the different
the
editions.
process. Which
Yeah,
is
the
good.
process. And I did split. I have there's a variety of. It's 1st level you split, so you're always like when you're 1st level you're always whatever discipline you chose, and it's there's the 5 disciplines, and there's a whole bunch of different powers that you can select out of that, and some of them are extraordinary, like the Psychoportationist's 1st level ability is that his wisdom modifier is added to his initiative. I called it speed of thought. Basically, Psychoportationists are all about motion.
Yeah.
So, their power, their will over and manifestation of that power is speed. So that's kind of one of their things is being fast, being quick.
Right, I was just trying to
That's-
figure out how broken that is.
Well, because if you combine that with the assassin, who really likes to go first, and also it takes a feat to get an initiative bump of I think a +5.
yeah.
Well,
Plus some other things.
we think in terms of somebody rolled an 18, but realistically, I haven't had an 18 yet with my characters. Any of my characters
You've
I've
rolled
made.
rubbish, but I mean,
But then again, too, if that's a secondary stat as well, like your prime stat is going to be for a Scion intelligence. Or are you going with wisdom?
I think
Most
it's
of them
been
are-
intelligence
most
in
of
the
them,
past.
no, it's been wisdom.
been
Well, the
intelligence.
problem is the 2nd edition. It's gone wisdom, Constitution, and
Oh yeah, it was
intelligence.
multi-stat.
It was multi-stated,
Yeah.
and
I think
I
in
feel
3rd edition it was intelligence.
It was
based.
intelligence.
Yeah.
It wasn't wisdom based.
It was
Yeah.
intelligence.
Wilder was charisma.
Psychic warrior wisdom,
Yeah.
intelligence for the side.
Okay, so they split it based on that.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like that is more balanced if you make it like not their primary stat.
So wait, if it was that ability was based off of another stat.
a
Yes.
tertiary, a
Yeah.
secondary stat.
Mm,
Say
yeah,
your
that
primary stat's intelligence and you make it wisdom or something like
Or
that.
vice versa.
Okay,
Because speed of thought should be intelligence, I would think.
so
So if you want to make wisdom their prime stat, speed of thought could be off of intelligence.
okay.
Well, I say I always thought that Psionics is more of a learned thing anyway, and you're mastering.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to view skills and powers in general, I guess. It's like the problem is if you really break down what everything's based off your brain. So really, like, how much of this is intelligence and what type of intelligence are you accessing and using? So like dexterity is, realistically it's a we call it a physical stat, but your mind is controlling your body. So, there's a reaction speed and other things that are associated with how fast you think and the way you can put together a situation and react to it. But realistically, it's still we consider it a physical stat in Dungeons and Dragons. So I can say anything is intelligence really is a stat. So.
Well, no, I think it's more about the process. It's about the process of becoming a scion. How is it? Is it innate, or did you learn it?
Well, that's why I'm kind of leaving it up to
wisdom. I do see wisdom in like sheer willpower, like of exerting force of will, and countering somebody's spell with paying 1 life without having any mana out. No, but exerting force of will, like just like is raw wisdom. Like it is sheer willpower. So I could see wisdom being.
I feel like willpower, and I feel like it's understanding, not necessarily knowledge. It's not like wizardry knowledge. It's more coming to understanding, which is more
meditative,
contemplation and intuition, like being able to.
Well, so then it just comes, but it comes down to like, okay, is psionics more of a meditative thing, or is it formulas and math?
I don't really feel like it's formulas and math for the most part. Well, okay, another thing I did was, since you guys didn't check it out. The saving throws, everybody has, well, right now let's just say it's wisdom. Everybody has wisdom, and then based on your discipline, you get your secondary saving throw is based off of that. So it's Dex for psychoportative, it's Con for psychometabolic.
Oh, so you know what? So basically your build is kind of like the cleric build, where they choose it at first level.
Yeah, and
it dictates one of their part of their class features.
Yeah.
Or even, like cleric or like
nobody else gets it at first.
Like
level.
sorcerer, I think sorcerer gets there.
Oh yeah,
sorcerers.
Yeah. I mean, because in a way, it's a little off from the wizard that gets theirs at second level, their specialty or whatever. But if you're tying a second saving throw to the thing, you have to give them a thing at first level, or it's it's like I got one good save until I gained level 2.
And what is it? I gave them. They also get an extra skill that's not in the normal general psionicist. So general psionicist might have psionics and insight and some other things in it, and like telepaths have persuasion. The psychoportationists have acrobatics, constitution. There's not really anything.
There aren't really skills that use con.
Yeah, I forget what I gave psychometabolics, but anyway.
Athletics.
Might have given them athletics. So that's kind of the idea with that is I altered it so that each one kind of, due to their power and their focus on that particular
Do they just get it, or is it one of the options they can choose?
It's one of the options.
I feel like telepaths
It's within their skill selection group.
I feel like to give them a little bit of a different feeling, I feel like telepaths could get a language, because if you're in other people's minds, it's way easier to learn and understand and comprehend another language.
That can all be done through powers.
True, but then perhaps maybe languages are just beneath you at that point.
Maybe. Yeah.
That can also be done through powers, or it can be done through class features, like later on. But I don't know. I feel like innately understanding a language would be cool, but.
I would also look at the warlocks, like invocations, maybe, because like the way that they get the menu options, like the one where you can just speak to people telepathically, like you get those choices.
That's not an invocation. That's part of the.
That's a class feature.
It's a class feature under the pact.
Oh, the madness one. The the Cthulhu, the Great Old One.
Yeah. But that might be a third level ability for the telepath.
Right.
You can just talk to people mind to mind.
Yeah. So. That's kind of with the class features. There's things that could be powers, but really they're going to be part of the thing. Like for psychometabolics, there's this thing called flesh armor. Very similar to like the draconic background of sorcerer and like the unarmed combat barbarian, all that kind of stuff. The psychometabolics is like a big shaper of themselves, so they alter their body. And flesh armor is basically like, you're increasing skin rigidity, your bones are harder, your muscles are denser, that kind of...
So each one is going to have probably a different secondary stat.
Yeah.
Like your telepath is probably wisdom and charisma. Your psychokinetic might be wisdom and dex. Not psychokinetic, psychoportation.
Portation and wisdom and dex.
your psychokinetic might be wisdom and intelligence, or your what is the one that does
Psychometabolic.
Psychometabolic might be wisdom and con.
Wisdom
Yeah.
and con or wisdom and strength.
And the claircognizant one, I'm not really sure. I kind of want to make it intelligence. I didn't want to just.
It's wisdom and wisdom.
Well, intelligence because basically it's a lot of spatial understanding as well, you know. And there's a big deal with you can see it, but do you understand it, or can you perceive what's going on? Like,
Well, yeah,
so there's
that one's
observation
also
quality
seen
to
in
that.
the future, in the past,
Yeah.
stuff like that as well.
So I feel like to be able to
To be a clairvoyant and like, wait, when in the time stream did this actually happen, and what does that mean?
So I feel like intelligence goes along with them.
right. Well,
and,
it should work out well because there's 6 stats, which you take 1 away from,
Because
when you
everybody
get
has
wisdom. Yeah.
so that leaves.
I made
5.
I know people would disagree with this, but I made
Yes, I did.
kineticist. See,
Okay.
I already got one.
No,
I made psychokineticist strength because they're doing telekinesis. They're moving forces. So it just made more sense to me that they would be kind of like even more than psychometabolist because they're all about changing their actual structure.
Well, you know what? Maybe another explanation is that it's strength because they are physically stronger, even if they look like Ryan, but it's because they're imposing their will on their physical body, and actually, even their part of their strength comes from using their mind.
Yeah, even if
Almost
they're
like
weak looking,
A
they're using
tactile telekinesis almost.
And it's also might never matter. I believe I can do this. I can do it.
Yeah, so they have that element to them. Also, they're it's like the school of telekinesis and fire starting. So it's a lot of energy and forces going around them and dealing with them. And also, I was kind of thinking about making it where while you're moving something with your mind, there is still some kind of physical strain or just like it's hard to dissociate that kind of I'm moving something, so my muscles are being engaged.
I would almost, I don't know. I am actually disagreeing. I feel like the kineticist would be con because it's like endurance of inverse forces, where like it's basically being able to run a marathon against gravity, versus the psychometabolics. It's like you're causing physical strain and like physical stresses, and it's like restructuring your muscles and stuff like that. So I would almost feel like they should be flipped, strength versus con.
Well, I kind of feel like they're both kind of interchangeable.
Yeah.
But all right, so I think we've given you enough food for thought and some fodder to use in the future.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to actually brush up on your articles and check them out.
Well, I liked getting your uninformed opinion on it. So
perfect.
We were
really
very
good at being uninformed.
Yeah, super good.
So with that, you guys can find us at nerdarchy.com.
Like, comment, subscribe. Give us your thoughts and your mind powers down below in the comments.
Just before you share it.
Check us out on Facebook.
And you can check us out on the subreddit, Nerdarchy, How to Stay Nerdy.
And until next time, my friends,
Stay nerdy.